a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. And the truth is, my husband always says, like, when he was in college or law school, whenever he would finish finals, he'd get sick. So the fact that I turned in my book and then got sick, I think it kind of makes sense. It's like, when you finish a project and your body's like, oh my God, I was carrying so much stress and now I'm just going to let myself like get sick. Anyways, who knows? I didn't sleep much last week because I was writing the book. Anyway, so hi, here's what I want to do. Those of you who are here, actually, this is good that it's a smaller group because we can hear from more people, and then Monday we can hear from other people. I kind of just want to go around and I want you to tell me where you're at and where you feel like. I kind of just laid out a bunch of stuff, from getting yourself more exposure in articles to creating more content to creating a course for your music to being an agent to what else? Creating events. I mean, there's so much I could help you guys do. And I kind of just want to hear which one of those things piques your interest. And I also want to hear what you feel like you need, because this is what I feel. I don't like seeing these incredible people we've all sort of become like brothers and sisters. And at the end of the program, when it's like, oh, everyone's leaving and they're saying goodbyes, I'm like, no, this is not right. Every person, I'm like, this can't be. So I feel like I don't know exactly what it looks like. I want to create it with you, but I feel like we can create something. And especially because you've been doing it for so long, it would be something that doesn't cost what the Access program costs. It would cost like half as much or maybe even less than half. And we would do it for 6 months and build out whatever else you guys need. Like for sure, one thing that could be in there is like those of you who are now graduating, we could just give you access to all the searches we get, because why not? Like you're already like, you're ready for that, That's one thing. Like to just give you like, here, we need this, you have it, you need that, because you won't be overwhelmed. You're like, I've been prepping for this for a year or more. That's one thing. Obviously, the second thing is decline. And then the second thing is we could keep bringing you into, sessions with getting feedback. I did just, Maureen and I we're creating this, we're outlining the deal right now, but she definitely is going to be a part of what we're doing. And she's great. I mean, she's president of the Music Supervision Guild and she'll be here, and she's done so many movies, and she, like I say, like I know some people, but she knows everybody. Like she knows every single person on the guild, every supervisor. She started the guild, actually, the Music Supervision Guild. She's the person who got them on the ballot to get Emmys and Oscars and all that. Anyways, so there's that. But then there's other things that we could do where I could maybe help you. Each month could be dedicated to a different one of these things, from like creating events that actually, you can get people to come, and you'd be surprised what you can make from creating an event. And we could talk about what that would look like. And we could talk about what it would look like for you to be doing agent work. And we could talk about what it would look like for you to be building out a course for things that that you don't realize that you know. So anyway, why don't we go around, tell me where you're at and how you're feeling, and then tell me which one of those things excites you. And if everybody keeps it kind of concise, then maybe we could like start today talking a little bit about one of those things and get you guys started. But there's so much I could share with you about how to diversify your gifts and use as many of them as possible, as opposed to putting it all on one thing. That's sort of the point, right? So anyone want to start or go first?
I'll go first.
Oh, you both went at the same time. Shoot. All right, Mikey.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Mikey, go first. I'm second.
Right. Such nice people. You said it at the same time. Sorry. Okay, Mikey, he's going to let you go.
The one thing I'm doing right now is building an online course, and it's called Songwriting for Guitar. And it's geared for, since I've been doing all this co-writing, I've noticed there's a lot of guitarists that don't always feel comfortable in writing sessions, like especially writing for multiple genres. There are different voicings you need to use, different techniques. And like, since I've been teaching for so long, literally all I was doing these lessons were teaching like top 40 songs all the time. So I was like picking up on all the nuances and the things you should do. And so I instinctively went into rights doing that. And I assumed everybody knew that, but now I'm realizing not a lot of people do. They're always using just open chord, open chord, open chord, and they're walking away with things that they're like, it's Imagine Dragons, but it sounds dated. And they're just like, why? And it's because they're just not using the proper techniques. And so I've been starting to build this course, and I'm trying to dedicate all of my lessons to Skype lessons, strictly from home, so that I can work on music and I don't have to leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so real fast, just because I love Mikey so much and I know how hard he's been working. And I think that you guys would find this interesting. So real fast, tell me, what have you been doing so far to let the world know about you? What are you doing?
I've been trying to do on the business page that I have on Facebook, constantly doing live videos of things that I'm working on, things that I'm doing. So it's like starting to gain a following. I started to do a blog videos called Songwriting for Guitar, just giving little snippets of like what the class would start to look like, because it helped me figure out like, cool, this is the format I want to start doing. I started to create an email list. I started posting constantly on Instagram and Twitter, and slowly trying to generate. I did a few paid posts too to start to gain some interest from friends of friends. So that's kind of the steps I've been taking so far.
Great. So good. I'm so impressed. I have a few other ideas that just like sprang into me, which is like, you know, you could have a podcast where you interview the greatest guitar players of all time, like great guitar players, you know? You would be so surprised how people love to talk about themselves. And that's just one thing. Another thing is we should talk about, you know, how basically whenever somebody is going to buy something, right, whether they're going to buy a car or they're going to buy the Chinese chicken at the food court at the mall, they want to sample it, right? They want to taste it. And so there might be ways for you to set up, you know, a sample of what you do, so people can test drive the car, and they can, and not just because you're doing everything right. I love that you're creating content that is so important and putting yourself out there and going live, and we could talk about maybe how to do that even more. But there might be ways of first of all, I can talk to you about ad stuff and how to get the most out of ads. And one thing I'll tell you all right now is that marketing is not sales. What marketing is it's telling a really good story. And what makes something go viral, here's something interesting. What makes something go viral is when people see their own feelings reflected back to them. And so I think part of the reason that I do well is because I'm very vulnerable, and I'm very much like, I'm anxious. Who else? You? Great. We're both like, if you look at my social media, like I'm very transparent. And I'm like that on the podcast. And when for instance, like when we were just doing this challenge, we had like 3,600 people join the challenge. And the ad, you know, first Victoria and Emily send me a post. They're like, how about this for the ad? Songwriting challenge. Do you want to license your music? And I'm like, no. And I was like, hang on. And like in 15 minutes, I was basically like, 10 years ago, I was depressed. You know, I wanted to curl up and watch Netflix, but I knew there was more to me. And so we can talk about that, but there's a lot in that, what I just said. When you share a story, you never have to worry about selling anything because people relate to you. And then so that's one thing. We can talk about how that works, not only in a Facebook ad, but how that works when you go live, and how that works in when you sort of curate groups. But what I'm also saying is, and again, this is like, we need to do a deep dive, but I'm just saying broad strokes. We need to create ways for you to give people a taste of that. And so we need to think about like, who is the person? Who is the person? Like if you had to create sort of like a persona of the kind of person who needs you, who are they and what's their language that they're speaking? Why are they wanting to take guitar? Are they wanting to take guitar because they want to become a better songwriter? Or are they wanting to take guitar because this has been a dream of theirs their whole life? Like me, I've always wanted to be a better guitar player, and like I know I should make the time on it and I don't. You know, we have to think about that, and then think about what kind of experience could you put them into, and then at the end offer them to continue that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds really good.
So we ought to do a deep dive on that, and we will. But there's a way to do this. What I have found is when you are clear about what you have to give, you never have to sell anything. You just share it. And Daniel Pink was on my podcast. He is like one of the most watched TED Talks. I think it's like one of the top 10, and he was on Oprah. He's a very big deal person, very smart. He said, if you have something that is going to make a difference in the world, whether it's an idea or a piece of software, or you have compassion that somebody needs, he goes, you have a moral obligation to share that with people. So, and I was like, wow, that gives people a lot of permission to do their thing. He goes, no, it's not permission. He goes, let me say it again. You're obligated, because if you keep that from the world, then that's depriving the world of you and something that the world needs. So the clearer we get about how absolutely valuable we are, we're like, wait a minute, it's actually selfish of me not to put it out there. Because you guys now, you know me pretty well, but it's like, I, of course, had to push through years of self-doubt and all of that stuff. Always. There's always like, new level, new devil, like it's all there. But I think to myself, if I had to go do another job right now, I wouldn't be able to just spend all my time making content, writing books, and and now I have 5 million people who are like, my life has changed. It's like, I'm only able to serve that way because I get paid, like obviously I wouldn't be able to do that if I, so I want you to keep thinking about that. So, all right, well, that's cool. And that is definitely something that we could just really like build out. So that's great. And great. Okay, cool. Who else? Tobias, do you want to share now? We cut you off before. You were such a nice person. Let Mikey go.
First, I have the question, like what we are talking about now, this following course, is that the one we auditioned for?
So I'm so glad you asked these questions. I said to the team the other day, I was like, if people are graduating from this experience, I think this is like crap that they have to audition. Like, I'm like, I don't like that. I don't think, because here's the thing also, John Kleinbell was in my program for a year. At the end of a year, I'm gonna be really transparent because I always am. At the end of a year, he's like, I went to Billy Loeffler like you told me, here's a few songs, do you like them? And I was like, you need to go find an agent who is obsessed with these songs, because of course, it would have been easy, like taking candy from a baby. Of course I could have signed it. At the time I was only signing people exclusively. He was like, oh, whatever you want. I'm like, that would be unfair, because I knew I wasn't crazy about the songs. And so of course they could sit there for a rainy day, but I'm too artist conscious. I was like, no. Anyway, 4 or 5 months later, his songs were like better and better and better. And I was like, shoot, I'm so stupid. Like I should have, and we're very good friends still, and it's all good. But like, I realized that even it might be that after 12 months, somebody doesn't have 20 amazing songs. But if you've been through this, you now know everything you need to know about how to create these songs and what these songs need to be like. And it'd be silly then to be like, unless you have the perfect song at the end of 12 months, you can't be in the next thing. That doesn't make sense. So I want to create it where you can just continue to nurture that. And I don't want to do that ever again, where like I'm helping somebody grow and then you're out there lost in the wilderness. It's like, you need us and we need you. We should continue to stick together, because we do have so many searches every day. And of course we should be going to the people we trust, who we've spent a year with. And so that's the long answer and the full explanation of why I'm not going to do that anymore. So I don't care.
With the auditioning.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, where I'm at right now, apart from diving into sync via this class, I'm on the other side, regular singer-songwriter, writing songs, putting out records, and touring. So on that side, I'd be very interested in things you could teach us about social media strategy, because you're out there all the time, on Instagram and Facebook, so. There's a lot we can learn from you from that side, I think. And I think a couple of people here are also like touring artists who could benefit from this sort of, from your experience in that field, marketing and social media strategies. And on the other side also, I would like to approach like for example, production libraries with what I can offer as a songwriter. You know, for example, what I think I can bring to the table pretty much is melody, is song structure, and in this sort of folk vein that I do. So not only offering like a finished product to music supervisors, like a finished song, but try to get a footing as a composer, as a songwriter in some of these places. So maybe some ways how to approach them. And also in general, what you said about the many searches you would be offering, that would be cool, of course.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. I feel like I love everything you just shared. And yeah, I feel like the continued program would be obviously the main, entree is that you would just have many more opportunities to license your songs, right? That's number one. But then number two is like, is there any added instruction or value that could come? And so I like what you were sort of pointing at, because I have friends of mine who, like Peter Hollins. You guys know who Peter Hollins is?
No.
Peter is so sweet. He lives up in Oregon with his family. He's got a kid and his wife. Maybe they have a second kid now. I forgot. He makes 7 figures because he goes on YouTube and creates these amazing, like, where he does a cappella renditions of songs, where he like splits the screen like 4 times. And it's like him doing the tenor and the bass and the out. He's great. But there's a bunch of people who have figured out a way to create content, and it doesn't even have to be that, but it's amazing how you can carve out a little bit more of a niche for yourself. And there are definitely ways to do that. Even with brands, going beyond licensing and partnering with brands, and brands do tons of they'll have like corporate retreats, and they'll want to do sometimes they'll want to have an artist as part of what they're doing to sometimes they want to have an artist who's, they're kind of have that gives them like a DIY approach. And I've seen Dr. Pepper do it with a bunch of artists, and I've seen State Farm and Allstate and Converse. I've seen companies like bring in DIY indie artists and like partner with them to give them sort of like street cred. There's just a lot of stuff that we can do out of the box. Like I recently, a week ago, I think it's a week or two weeks ago, maybe. I think it's 2 weeks ago. I got a call from the president of K-Swiss Shoes. And he was like, Cathy, want to make you your own shoe? And I was like, great. Okay. And he's like, yeah, K-Swiss, we just did a shoe with Gary Vee, but women are not represented yet, and we need to represent women. And we think it makes sense. And I was like, that's really cool. But what I'm getting at is, he was talking about how all these brands wind up having some kind of partnership. He goes, when you go into Nike, buy a shoe, you'll be like Michael Jordan. Go into Adidas, buy a shoe, you'll be like this rapper. He goes, I wanted people to buy a shoe and feel like you're going to be more of yourself. Like I want to represent entrepreneurship and I want to represent whatever. But that's just one example. I know friends of mine now who are podcasters and other musicians. I have a friend who I met 2 days ago. I spoke at this event in West Hollywood, and I met a girl who partnered with Stonyfield Yogurt. And she was like, right now, she's in Seattle at their event. Like she's speaking, she's singing, she's then going to Facebook to do a private concert. Like there's so much. We just have to start creating ideas and then figuring out like who we're going to reach out to and what we're offering. And you would just be surprised. Like we don't have to take the 405, like the same road that everyone's on. There's just always another way in. So yeah, I would love to just talk more about that stuff and see if you guys can start to, because we have to find a way to stand out. We can't just expect there used to be this idea, artists would have this idea, like someone's going to discover me. It's like, we can't do that, I have friends who they wanted so bad for bloggers to write about their music and review them. So they started a blog You know, it's like I get reviewed all the time and they review other artists and like, boom, it's like so smart, you know, like I didn't think of it when I started my podcast. I didn't think of it as a music vehicle, but now I play a song of mine at the end of every episode and we have 5 million downloads. So it's like, do the math. All of a sudden my records are selling. I didn't think that would sell records. I didn't even play my music at the end of the episodes until like 30 episodes in. I didn't even think of it. I was like, oh, I guess I'll put it on the end. Like, there's just so many ways. We live in the best time. Like, as long as you have one of these, so much. We just have to keep brainstorming and thinking about other ways to get out of the box. So cool. There's some food for thought, but we need to do a deeper dive on that. So that's
cool.
Exciting.
Thanks a lot, Cathy.
I love it. Who else wants to speak up and share? Julie, I saw you raise your hand.
Get out of the chat really quick. I'm lost.
How are you?
I'm good. For me, I think I'm trying to do a little bit of what Mikey's doing, but instead of teaching like the performing thing. Because I got the 2 kids at home and I'm playing out a little bit, but it's tough to be gone in the evenings all the time. So I'm thinking of getting into the whole Facebook Live thing or YouTube.
Yeah, or Periscope.
And using my email list. How can I get all that together? But it's in its infancy.
So here's another thing to think about, right? I'm gonna, every time you guys say something, I'm gonna give you a nugget. And then of course we have to like do a whole deep dive. Another thing to think about is creating a story around your music, okay? So I'm going to make this up. I'm totally making this up. Let's say, I'll do it with my music. I'll use myself as an example. So Cathy Heller writes songs like Let Your Color Shine, We're Good Together, Count on Me. It's like very like peppy, right? It's sort of like this. Like this is just sitting in front of me right now. Like this is kind of like my music, right? So I have 3 kids, so there's always crap in I'm always like, I feel like Larry David. I'm like, you don't respect my office. Like they don't respect it. It's like, if I turn the camera, you'd see there's a scooter right here. It's fine. Anyways, so I look at this, okay? Let's go back to what I was saying. So let's say my artistry I'm using me as an example. What else could I create aside from a song that I can sell that completely dovetails with my message? Okay? Here's the thing, people. Here's what we know from data, from science, from being a human being. People, you're not going to be surprised by this, but you're going to go, oh yeah. People love, with caps, love to spend money. Did you know this? You know this, right? People love to spend money. This is what makes America the country that it is. People love to spend money. We have problems, right? Like I'm amazing. It's amazing to me. No matter how much money I make, I'll find more. I'll just keep spending. My husband's like, you're supposed to spend the same and make more. I'm like, I know, it's there. So it's like, because people love to spend money. We love it. It's like retail therapy, right? You're like, I'm just gonna get I went to a store in Malibu over the weekend. There was this like beautiful incense and like an incense holder. And I come out of the store. My husband goes, did you just spend $232 on incense? I go, well, I got one for so-and-so. And he goes, that is not an item you needed. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just thought about myself, but I'm meditating and I wanted it. Okay. So we need to offer more things, and people, when they buy things, here's the other thing. It's emotional. People buy from emotion. So let's say you have music like mine. I'm using me as an example. What else would I be able to make? Well, I can make bracelets that say, let your color shine, right? I can make a pendant that says, you are enough. I could make, mugs that say, I don't know, I can't be creative all the time in 1 second, but like you get the point. So when you're thinking about your music and what your music is about and what it feels like, is it sexy? Is it ethereal? Is it about being, bold? Is it about Is it something that's more like a Bon Iver, like this is you when you get like in your own, this is you on Walden Pond off by yourself, reflective, like you can make things, like there's so much, like just think about it, you know, because then you start to put a whole world together, right? And then imagine if I created, like, this is the way my brain works. Now you're seeing it, because I'm literally saying this for the first time, but I obviously think of these things. I'm just thinking right now, then I could create an entire event that's called Let Your Colors Shine, right? And who would I bring to that event? A yoga teacher, a great speaker. I would sing, other bands would sing that were like also comparable to that. We could raise money for this thing. I mean, like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I got to get busy, right? And now you're busy, and now you're not waiting for anyone, and now you're excited, and it's about storytelling, and it's about everything that as opposed to what most artists do, which is like, I'm an artist. So I play guitar, and then I sell the song, and then I go home. It's like, wait, no, we got to do more than that, right? So my friends, you know, the world that I'm in now with friends of mine who are authors and podcasters, everybody's doing 61 things, and it's all pulled out from the core values that they stand for. It's pulled out from that. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah. Got it.
Love it. Okay. So again, just nuggets, but we could like then like do a deep dive. Like each person sort of would be like, you know, you kind of workshopping this. And then what we would do is every time we would meet, we kind of like tease it out a little bit more, and I'd give you something to try or do or stuff like that. But yeah, these are the things. I feel like I'm not reading what's in the chat. Okay, cool. Robin gets it. Do you respect Wood? That's right. I'm obsessed with Larry David, like completely obsessed. Who else would like to speak? Oh, wait. Alex, your hand went up.
Yay.
Alex, what's up?
So I've been in this program for about 5 months, so I'm still pretty new. I'll be submitting my first song on the 2nd. I'm really excited about it. And all my songs are kind of about nature and like restoring the soil like this. So I'm interested in expanding in terms of teaching songwriting, and then also doing kind of like YouTube behind the scenes videos about how I made the songs. And then in terms of events, that just got me thinking. I have this song called Grow With Me that's all about turning like the front lawn into a garden and building a beehive in the backyard. And I know this nonprofit called Everybody Grows, and I could partner with them. I volunteered with them before.
She gets it. She totally gets it. Yes.
So, and I'm just open to growing it all more and, you know, really making my sound as professional as possible to be able to license it.
Love it. There's so much there. So I love that you already said that you were going to think about going and doing like behind the scenes stuff, because that was one thing that I was going to share with you guys, is that when you're starting, the bottom line is we got to build an audience. We got to gather the humans together. Right. And that is one of the 3 go-to pieces of content. Like you can show them behind the scenes of your process. You can show them, you know, the day in the life. I think that we underestimate how much people just want to see reality, you know, like I think people find it really interesting. And when you are making music, I think instead of just, you know, playing the final song and doing a show, or you get on there and you just play it, I think it's interesting for people to see the process, or even what was behind it, like, you know, where it came from, what the idea was. Maybe you take them back, like, here's where I was sitting on this bench when I broke up with that person, and it reminded me of this, and, you know, kind of take them through the story. Do you guys remember that movie American Beauty with Alan Ball? You don't know who he is. He wrote it. His name is Alan Ball. He wrote the movie. He also wrote a show called 6 Feet Under. So he spoke at my college, and he was telling all of us why he wrote this movie American Beauty. Just go like this if you've seen it. How many of you have seen this movie? Yes? No? It's already like 20 years old or something like that. It's crazy. But at the time it was like amazing, you know, an amazing movie. And in the movie, there's a kid who he has a video camera. He's always like shooting footage. And there's this like plastic bag that's always like kind of like blowing in the wind, and leaves blowing in the wind. And he'll just like shoot stuff like that. So this guy, the writer of this movie, he comes to my school years ago in like 1999. And he tells all of us that movie was created one day when he was sitting in front of the World Trade Center. And all these people were rushing around and had their suits on and so busy. And he was sitting there watching this plastic bag, like floating in the wind with all these leaves. And he noticed how nobody saw it. And it was so beautiful, like was watching the leaves blow. And he was like, this is the American dream, but like they're missing out on everything, you know? So it was just so interesting to hear the story of like where it came from. And I've been to songwriter rounds. Tom Hanks's wife, Rita Wilson, she puts together a bunch of these in LA, and she'll bring like 8 songwriters, and they sit and they tell the story of like how these songs were created, and people are amazed. So I wouldn't take that for granted. I think that is really interesting. It's your favorite movie of all time. Wow. Somebody just said that's your favorite movie of all time. That's cool. Anyways, so that's really cool. And I love how your mind just went to that idea with Grow With Me. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, think of what could then happen from that. It's like you're not waiting for a vehicle, you're creating a vehicle. But again, what you're creating even more so than a vehicle is so much more value. Because if you're a songwriter, you have something to say. So you have a message. So that message can be shared, and you can impact the world in so many ways. It doesn't only have to be through the song itself. And then how do you take the song and give it an entire life? You know, how do you build a whole world around these values and this message? That's the point, right? And that's where things get really exciting. And now you're not waiting for someone to buy a record. You're not in a line of people who's sort of like sitting around, because you're standing out, you're doing things, you're busy. We have so much we can do with our own 2 hands. So that's the point. Laura, I see your hand up. How are you?
Good. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I've been with you guys. I've been with you for over 2 years. And I think I've been kind of having sort of a crisis because it hasn't been going so well with licensing. So I decided all along these years, though, I have like a whole record ready to be released. Some songs that are just mine, some for licensing. Now you've created a monster because I don't want to give up licensing, and I continue to pitch. But recently I worked on a song called On the Streets of New York. It's just my song I wrote about, you know, the Statue of Liberty and immigration and how we're welcoming people. And I have to admit, I was the happiest I'd been in years in the studio and having musicians play with me and being myself. So I realized, so what am I here to do? I want to sell my songs, but my soul has a job to do. And I want to bring my song, I want to give it to the mayor of New York. I want to do something that means something. And so that's kind of why I'm here today. I don't want to give up, but my soul needs to be fed. And I have a higher power, a higher mission, maybe I could say. So yeah, thank you for hearing what I have to say.
No, it's so beautiful. And I know that feeling, like when the tears come in because you feel like, oh, I'm in alignment with myself. You know, I'm doing my work. And that is so important. And it's important for all of us the whole time. I mean, now that you guys know me better and better, like every song I've ever written is 100% me. That this is me. I mean, we now use Let Your Color Shine as the theme for my show. That is me 100,000%. So for me, when I was licensing music, I was figuring out how do I do me and make something that also they love, but not at the cost of not being me, right? Like I'm not gonna try to write songs that are like, what's this called? Oh my God, I keep forgetting this. Portugal the Man. We keep getting asked for songs like that. Like, that's not me. You know, like they're great. God, are they good? I just don't write songs like that. So it's all about figuring out, you know, what is our road. But here's the other piece. And Laura emailed me and I told her this over an email. When Jenna Fisher was on our show, Jenna Fisher, who played Pam on The Office, and now she has a new show called Splitting Up Together. She was telling me, she's like, she goes, it's so painful because there are times where I see somebody who's like in this lane and it's not their lane, because every soul, every person was put in this world with different DNA. My friend Andy Miller says, he's like, you don't have to be a God person. He goes, you could even just look at science. I'm definitely a God person, but he's like, even if you just looked at the science, the most rare thing in the world is an individual, because that DNA and your experiences in this world are completely unique. No one else has had your DNA, and no one else has had the list of experiences that you've had. So you have something that the world made completely unique. So everyone has work to do. So it doesn't make sense for Laura to try to do my work. Like, that might be Cathy Heller's work, and she has her work to do. And it doesn't make sense for me to try to do Ingrid Michaelson's work, because like, that's her work. And at the end of the day, you know, when I'm 120 years old and I look back on my life, I want to be able to say, like, I did my work. And so Jenna Fisher said, people need to see that rejection is an illusion. Rejection is mercy. It's actually redirection. It's constantly redirecting us to where we are supposed to be. Now, there are times where rejection is there because somebody doesn't get us, or because somebody's just being rude. And we have to learn that. But there are times where along my journey, I got rejected and I was like, in the end, I was like, thank you. That isn't my road. You know, like, I got dropped from 2 labels. I don't have that kind of voice. And I don't think my job was to sell out stadiums and dress in a certain way. And I don't sing power ballads. My voice wouldn't have held up. They're absolutely right. And it just wasn't my work. It was not my work. So it's beautiful to surrender that you do absolutely. Every one of us has so much value. And our job is to honor our work. Now, for some of us, you've seen, it's been beautiful how many people keep getting licenses now. I love it. I mean, that was the point of this class. And I can't believe that we've had 30% now of our students get a license from 0. I mean, that's amazing odds. But not every person is going to get the same kind of license. Not every person is going to get a license. And part of this process is figuring out, well, what can I do with this? And I think that what's beautiful about Laura is she's so humble. She has so much heart, so hardworking. And so you've gotten so much out of just, you've made the most of the experience no matter what. You've been collaborating, you've met people, you've played, like, it's just so smart. But now is the question, what can you do with your gift? And that's why I wrote you back. And Jenna Fisher had said that her husband, his name is Lee, he came out to LA to be a actor. And it wasn't working for him. And he then, somebody said to him, can you help us write this indie movie? And he helped them. And the movie was so good. And his friends were like, I think you're a better writer, or maybe your work is being a writer. And so now he's like a successful writer, director, as opposed to an actor. So that took tremendous humility and also trust in his higher mission, as you're saying. And so I think what you're doing right now is incredible. And I love what you just said about that song you're writing. And you clearly, I mean, you're the kind of person who has such big values and wants to do so much good in the world. And it is time to put that all together. You know, like someone recently said to me, are you going to because somebody offered me to be part of a project and I was considering it because it was like a cool opportunity. And my friend who's really successful said to me, don't just do something because it's a cool opportunity. Like, you only have a certain amount of hours every day. Make sure all of it is in line with your message, because at this point, that's much more important to you than anything else. And I was like, you're right, I'm not going to do it. So I would love to see how you could start creating and generating social awareness and the things that matter to you and adding your music in as part of that mission. And you absolutely can. So it dovetails really nicely with the conversation that we're having right now. Wait. Hey, sorry, you're muted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Cathy. I appreciate I could be vulnerable with all you guys. I've known some of you for years, and that is very helpful to hear what you just said. Thank you.
You have so much good work to do in this world. And we can't compare ourselves to other people because it's almost irrelevant. It's like, You know, it doesn't matter if my friend Heidi is an Olympic gymnast. I'm not. I'll never be that. Who cares? That's her job. That's what she does. It's like, it's completely irrelevant. Like, why am I looking at, you know, one of my daughters has glasses and the other two don't. And she's like, well, they don't have glasses. I'm like, yeah. And this one has freckles and you don't. And she's got curly hair and you don't. It's like, everyone's meant to do a different job in this world. And thank God, you know, like, thank God we each have a different calling, because then all those jobs get filled. And it's time for you to really honor that and to take that to the next level and to think about all the different things that you can do and generate with that mission, and how you can get other people then fired up about that mission, and maybe do a whole album of songs from all different artists that really speak to that mission. And then maybe you do a show and you know, raise money for that cause, or you bring in you know, there's so much you can do.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Send an email to Kamala Harris and be like, I want to write your theme song or whatever. Tell her
I want to connect with all the people on this call somehow.
Cool.
I can relate to Laura. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, I'm in the smoking section. It's not bothering anybody, is it?
Oh, no. Okay. That's the good thing about online video. Go ahead.
Anyway, I can relate to what Laura's talking about. You write a song that means something, you know, the Statue of Liberty. I wrote an album back in 2016, angry about the political stuff. And I realized, you know, it's focused on the political stuff. And when I joined your course, I learned a lot of things. Thank you very much for the information and the people that share the information. The universal lyric is the way to make sure you can get your music placed in several categories. That's a good thing. But like when I first started your course, I thought I had to write music like Cathy Heller.
Mm-hmm.
And that really kind of sent me on an interesting journey. It was a challenge because I've been doing this my whole life. I've recorded many records. I've been songwriting for years, but I just couldn't do the Cathy Heller thing.
No.
And it's interesting because I have a real deep voice, and all the up-tempo stuff usually has high tenor voices or female voices. So I started to feel kind of left out of the process. You know, it's like, oh, I can't do that Cathy Heller thing. But then I realized, okay, the stuff that I've written actually is getting good responses. So, you know, I think I'm finding my own place. A great songwriter, a guy named Eden Abez, who wrote the song Nature Boy, he told me that everybody has their own happiness, their own sorrow, their own joy, their own love. Everybody is unique and individual. And it's when we start to try and be somebody else, I think, is when we reach this state of depression.
Yeah.
Because I deal with depression. And I'm not a look at me kind of guy. So, you know, this whole internet and speaking in front of millions of people, it's hard for me. You know, I don't get up in meetings. You know, I went to your event a few months back, you know, and I'm pretty quiet. I talk to people, but, you know, I'm not the kind of guy that gets up and does testimonials or anything like that. I'm in my own little world. But yeah. I just want to thank you for educating me and giving me a little focus on what this sync journey is. And, you know, I've got a lot of stuff placed myself, but I've written it specifically for those things. And when I first took a course in ASCAP years ago, they said, be clear about what you're singing about so people can relate to it. You know, so I've written songs that are specific about certain feelings or things, you know, and then I get to this universal lyric thing and I go, okay, you have to write about your feelings or an emotion or an event. You know, it's an interesting process. But
I love it. I appreciate everything you said, and I love what your friend said to you, the guy who wrote Nature Boy. I love what he said. Like everyone,
Avi was amazing.
Everyone has their own happiness and their own sorrow, and it is depressing when you are trying to shut off your own truth and be
Right.
another human being. I mean,
I started this journey when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, right? And so for years I wanted to be a Beatle, and then halfway through my life, it's like, wait a minute, I'm never going to be a Beatle. I'm just me.
Yeah.
Who am I? So I'm trying to figure out who I am.
Yeah, and I think
that's the hardest thing for me, is to figure out who I am. And when I'm pitching myself to somebody, I have to know who I am and what I have.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I'm an artist. I create, and this is what I do.
And I think that's everybody's struggle. I think everyone who ever made money, like if it's not a hobby and you're actually making a living, you are factoring in your buyer, right? Because they're paying you, right? Like whether you're making a piece of furniture, you should care what color of fabric they like and how they want it to feel, because you're making it for this buyer, right? I mean, unless it's a hobby.
I loved your analogy about cooking dinner for a friend.
Right, that too.
That was great. I really appreciated that.
But also, my friend Jeff Goins, and I've told you this before a little bit, but he was on the podcast. He wrote a book called Real Artists Don't Starve. And we have a mentality that artists are starving, and that is become so glorified. And it's in all these TV shows, and you see these hipster kids who, that's sort of the way to be, like don't have any money and you're an artist and you're going to die on your sword. And what Jeff talks about is Michelangelo. Like Michelangelo was literally a billionaire. Like when he died, he was a multi-millionaire, but if you did inflation, like he was a billionaire. He had $50 million when he died. We're talking years ago. And he was constantly sitting with a customer and they were telling him exactly what to paint. It wasn't like, here's a ceiling, just paint whatever. They were like, paint this. And we want the whole,
stripped everybody down.
What did you say?
He stripped everybody down. He took all their clothes off.
He took their clothes off. But when you look at the Sistine Chapel and you realize that this was a piece of work that was commissioned, and he sat down and he had months of conversations and meetings, and there was so much instruction. And then nobody looks at that and goes, Michelangelo, did you know he was such a sellout? Do you know that he actually had a customer and he listened to them? No, people are like, he's majestic, he's incredible. And this was the same thing with artists since the beginning of time. And then all of a sudden it became, I think it's really interesting how that all happened. But the bottom line is, we're all on this existential journey to figure out who the heck we are and what we are and all that stuff. And since that is such a big question, and it takes a lifetime to figure out who we are and what we are, and we're constantly just having to listen to like, where does the whisper feel like it's coming from? What do we lean into? Who are we? Like getting into the flow, all of that. On the way there, that's why it's actually so beautiful when we can shoot for something and look at empathy and say, what can I make? What does this person need? And then how do I keep striving for that? Because it gives me some target to try to hit. And along the way, you can start to feel more and more what is you and what isn't you. And it's something that we have to grow, more aware of. I meditate every day. I don't know what my life would look like if I didn't. Just to have that quiet time to come home to myself and notice my thoughts, and then just try to breathe a little bit. And that is really, really helpful. I think that life is supposed to be hard, easy. I think that we make it harder. I think we've all grown up with this idea that making money means it has to be hard, or you have to not be yourself, or you need to be unhappy. And I don't think that's really it at all. I think that we can let it be easy if we really learn how to listen to ourselves. But when Martha Beck was on my podcast, she said, the compass, it's not in here, it's in here. So if you're spending all your time in here and then trying to create from here, it's a problem. And I mean, the last time I checked, most people are not spending enough time breathing and getting quiet. And it's uncomfortable to get quiet because anxiety comes right in, and you start to feel depressed and anxious because the mind is so good at churning out stressful thoughts. But after a while, you learn how to notice it and give it less power. And then you start breathing, and then that becomes much more interesting than the crazy making thoughts. And you sit there for 10 minutes and you come out and you're like, oh yeah, these thoughts are thoughts. It doesn't mean that they're facts. And maybe now I'm just going to trust this thing. I just feel, and I'm going to send that email, or I'm going to write that song, or I'm going to, lean into whatever it is that's calling me. And that's a lifetime pursuit. But in the meantime, I think it makes a lot of sense to continue to strive to do both. I think that, you know, there's having a hobby and I don't give a crap about what anybody wants. And then there's, I want to make a living, which means it's all about empathy. And I absolutely have to care about understanding what people need and what they feel. And let me use my talent then to articulate those feelings and put that into a song so that, again, I told you at the beginning of this conversation, what makes something go viral is you reflecting back another person's feelings. And that is really the job of sync licensing, because a movie or an ad is designed to do that. It's designed to tell a story that makes you feel like, that's me. That's me. And it allows you then in that movie to process that feeling or to overcome a feeling or to celebrate a feeling. And so that's what we're doing, is we're just really trying to think about how do we tell stories that are other people's stories as well as our own, so that we can mirror that. And that's it. And it takes a little practice to figure out how to do that and be ourselves, but it's totally doable. And again, for some people, it's not their lane. You know, for some people, you could go to NYU Film School and try your hardest, and it's not your, I mean, otherwise, think about how many Steven Spielbergs there would be if everyone who went to film school was really meant to be a filmmaker. Some of them gave up, for sure. Some of them, it wasn't their path. They wound up doing something else. So you can apply yourself to this process as much as you want, and it might turn out to be that, like, there's something else here. And it's cool to learn because it helps you learn what you are and what you're not. But that is the process, you know? So it's great. It's great to talk about all this stuff. Rick, I saw your hand was up. Are you still here? There you are. I'm going to unmute you. How are you? Wait, I can't hear you. You're unmuted, but I still can't hear you. Turn on your sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I've been in Access course since January of last year. And I know I don't want this to sound like I'm patronizing, but this is probably has been the most educational thing musically I've ever been able to do. And it kind of took me from the Flintstones to the Jetsons in a year. And also, but the course didn't do this, but I always had trouble with finances. During the course of the time doing this Access course, let's see, my electric got cut off for a week. My heat was off for 6 weeks. I had so many financial trouble. My car got repossessed. None of this had anything to do with the course, but I stayed steady with the music and kept writing, and I kept believing in it, and I still believe in it. And the thing is though, I want so badly to keep going. I mean, it's like, oh man, my year. It seemed like just when I get in the process together, the time runs out. And oh, you're right. Okay. I just want you to get to see how much value that you have to us. Everybody you see in these little squares, it counts, and it's adding up. You just have no idea. It's like, and I thought I was killing it at first, and basically this course showed me I had to take it all apart and put it back together again, and then I could do it right. But so I'm learning. I think I finally went from the old Luke Skywalker to the new Luke Skywalker. I've got this thing more together. But it took you to help me do that. You, Cathy, Sonnet, Emily, you guys really help me pave the way. So my next goal, total world domination. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But this is, and I'm not going to say this to sound like a pity move, or I want anybody to do anything for me. But I am trying so hard. I'm putting the monies together now to get to this March event. I just feel like I have to be there. And I feel like Catch the Moon is such a part of my life right now. I know I'm supposed to write for other agencies and get commercials out there, and I'm also a professional musician. But how it's like, I'm so close. In fact, I'm so close, I can't give up. Because there were times during the course I did want to give up. But it's like, then when I listen to other people's songs, it's like, I can still do that. You get the best pep talks in the world. Just want you to know that. Thank you so much. And everybody, I know everybody that's listening has respect and love for you. And when you mentioned God before, and I pray for you and your kids and your husband all the time, just so you know that. And don't doubt the value of yourself. I want you to know you put a big check mark on my life, and it turned a lot of things around. So it got me out of the starting gate. The horse stumbled, but I'm headed for the finish line. So keep your eyes on me, baby. Keep your eyes on me.
Is anyone else crying, or am I the only one? You're such a sweet, special soul, and it means so
I'm
much
not
to me.
available in stores either.
You're not available?
I'm not available in stores.
You are so sweet, and I really appreciate your vulnerability and your courage to share all of that. It is like the rarest thing in the world for somebody to just open their heart and to let go of the shame and just tell the truth. You know, every single one of us has issues and demons and struggles. And the other day I had a couple people over for lunch, and there were two families here who I see all the time. My kids, we all go to they go to my kids' school, the kids. And I mentioned something at the table about something that my therapist said, and my husband and I, how it helped our marriage. And the guy sitting across from me, he goes, "That's so cool that you just shared that, just like that. Like, you know, that you, you know," and I was like, "Oh, well, you know, I guess I don't have shame around it because I know that that's just part of my life, you know?" And then he goes, "Well," he's like, "I'm a heroin addict." And I was like, wow. And then everybody at the table was just like, from that moment on, like the most honest, like beautiful conversation I've ever seen. And I had so much respect for him for sharing that. And that's like so extreme, you know, I mean, like so intense. And we sat there and like cried with him and talked about it. And it takes so much courage. And I was like, God, I wish every meal I had was like that. Like I would rather everyone just be like, "Hey, this is me, you know, this is what I'm struggling with. This is," you know, because we're all struggling. And then you go on social media and it's like, this one's perfect. This one had the best day. This one has the best. It's like, it's all crap. It's all garbage. None of it's true. It's only partially true. And then you compare yourself to it. You're like, what's wrong with me? So I want you to know something though, and this is separate from the fact that what you just said was so courageous. Separate from that, and I hope that you hear this, you have an ability to communicate and to inspire people. I don't know if you are aware of it, but it is so unique. And the world needs that so badly. And I feel, again, like I started this conversation today saying, like, what value do you have to pull out that you could exchange for dollars? Rick, every time you post in the group, it is like so supportive and kind. But when you were just talking, like your ability to be that honest, and then also to find the light and to talk about how, like, even in those dark moments, you kept going. People need that so badly. Like, I would love to see what would happen from you sharing more of yourself with the world, because I feel like, talk about trading value for value. The value of what you just shared is worth millions. It's priceless. Like, for people to just be around that and be part of that. You guys hear what I'm saying, right? Making sense? I would love to help you figure out a way. I'd love to help you figure out a way for you to be giving that more to people, and because it's right there. Like, it is right there.
Believe it or not, Cathy, I think this is God's gift to me. Is there's something that's easy to encourage other people. It's all you have to do is just find the gold in them and dig it up and say, hey, here's the gold, here's the diamond, you know, and God can show you how to cut it. And it's like, and people just think, no, I'm just cubic zirconia. No, you were a diamond the whole time. They're so busy looking at Clark Kent, they fail to see Superman.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
I mean, have you ever thought about doing like any kind of like a Patreon situation? Have you ever thought about creating more content, like going live and sharing your story and like saying, you know, if you get on this journey with me, I'm going to give you'll be part of a group, and I'll do a video every week or once a day, or share with you like the first 30 days and I mean, you have so much to give. I feel like people would just be like, I mean, I know I would give to that.
That's not a bad idea. You know what? You might have just started something, Cathy. You might have just started something.
Because I think that the thing that people want more than anything is purpose. And when they see another human being waking up and striving for purpose, and then you giving them that purpose they get to see that in you, and you strip away those layers and you share your journey. I mean, if I was you having the heart and the kind of personality that you have, I would put up a video and I would go onto Patreon or crowdfunding and I'd be like, this is me and this is my story and this is what I want and here's what I want to give you in return. I want you to help me make this music and then I'm going to be here every day or once a week and I'm going to inspire you by showing you what I'm pushing through and what I'm doing, and I want you to do your creative stuff too, and I'll help by giving you like accountability or ideas, and together, you know, like you'll be helping me, but I'll be inspiring you to pursue the things that you love, you know? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I just have to figure out how to do it. And because I'm convinced I'm supposed to do something like that. In fact, not everybody knows why they're on the earth. I know exactly. I'm supposed to fund God's kingdom. Wherever people are starving, I'm supposed to help feed them. If they need shelter, I'm supposed to help build them. I'm supposed to put people through college. But it takes money to do that, and I had to use money as the proper tool and keep God first and and take care of myself, take care of my family, and use the money wisely. And they got to take care of everything else if I do my end of the bargain.
That's absolutely true. And Tony Robbins, I said this at the last event, but he told a story about how he only made $1 million a year, which I know it's a ton.
Only?
A lot. But he now makes like $500 million a year. But at the time, he couldn't make more, and he couldn't figure out why. And he realized it's because he didn't have enough self-worth to feel like he was worth more. And then all of a sudden he realized, but wait, I have to find a motive. And he realized I can make more money and bring more into my ecosystem if I will set up a charity to feed people. And so then that gave him the motivation and the permission to receive more. And then he started feeding people. And I think he's already fed like 1 billion people around the world.
Well, there's so many hungry people. It's easy to find your motivation in that.
Yeah, that's right. I think you just answered your question. I think the thing is, when we look at our bank accounts, unfortunately, all too often, it has a lot to do with what we think we're worth. And somehow those things wind up coming together. And the more that we absolutely know what we're worth, we stop apologizing and we get busy putting things out there and sharing things and making things. Because if you get clear about what I just said to you, you will go out there and maybe try something I just said, because you'll be like, Cathy's right. This is worth a lot. People need to hear this, you know? By the way, I started to cry and then I got sunblock in my eye. So that's why I keep touching my eye. So if you're like, why is she doing that?
See, you know what you just showed me is one of the main reasons that we all love you. You have a vulnerability. In fact, the fact we don't think of you as a CEO of a company. We think of you as a sister. And it's like, wow, our big sister's looking out for us. Our sister's helping us to make money or to encourage us. And so we think of you that way. So it's like, and it's like, so when you go on the book tour, yeah, we're going to miss you.
Yeah, but we're gonna find a way to stay as a family. But that, I don't know how that's gonna look. But it's exciting, and I love this conversation. And I don't know why I gotta put water in my eye or something. My eye is now.
I thought it was my cologne, but you're gonna be okay.
No, I started to cry, and then my eye is like. Anyways, so much good stuff here. Are you guys seeing what I'm saying? Like, there's so much to talk about and to explore. So,
by the way, I apologize for taking us so much time. I know other people have things to say.
Again, no, it was like medicine what you just shared. It was so important, and I love it. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out real quick what we could do to stay together. And how we could basically spend a year, of course, giving you access to searches and supervisor sessions, but then other things like going through these kinds of things. Would you like that? Would you like to keep talking about these conversations? In addition, obviously, to the searches.
I would love that, because sometimes it feels like there's this big thing of TNT and it's supposed to blow up and it's supposed to help everybody. It's like I see all these big blessings inside of me that God has, and it's just sitting there. And it's like I'm supposed to disperse this. We're all supposed to disperse this. And too many people need our help, and people are crying right now, and we're supposed to be right there handing things to them or encouraging them or wiping their tears away or giving them a bus pass. The simplest action of kindness might keep somebody from even killing themselves.
I want to read you something. Last night, my friend sent me, where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Last night, my friend sent me a song that somebody wrote for her because my friend is like a real giver.
Uh-huh.
And the lyrics are, I'm not going to leave the world unchanged. I'm going to make something great today. I don't know how or when, but I don't know how or when I'll have the chance to show up again with a smile on my face. Nothing can replace the chance to make it better. Somebody needs flowers. Someone needs a chair. Someone needs a hand to hold. Someone needs a salad. Someone needs a pear.
A salad.
Like, it's just so cute. And it's all about like waking up in the morning and like thinking about how you can make the world a better place. And she sent me that last night, and I love it. And then at the same time, where is it? At the exact same second, a friend of mine who listens to my podcast sent me this, which is from my show.
Mm-hmm. I love when you do those.
And it says, when we strive to serve or contribute, we find purpose. When we strive to help. And yeah, I mean, this is the bottom line that I'm saying. In order for you to help and serve the world at the absolute most that you can, you have to figure out other ways to bring the money, the value into your ecosystem so that you can do more. And if you look at it that way, you'll just open the gates. And then the question is, okay, how can I get busy? And even working together with people in this program, like what events can we create? What things can we do together? What else can we do? Because I'm just thinking, like, as I see people signing off from this class, I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. A, they've worked all this time to get their songs together. They should be in the loop on searches, number one. Number two, we're connected, and they're not getting all that I have to offer, which is to keep helping you tease this stuff out. So we're going to keep talking about it, and we'll have another conversation on Monday, and we'll dive into more of this. But it was great that we wound up having to, have like a full session like this. And I really appreciate everybody's vulnerability and presence and kindness and your great ideas and talent. I mean, I'm just so lucky. I'm so lucky to be a part of such a special, extraordinary group of humans. So thank you for everything, all of it. It's all so intangible, and it's here. So it's great.
Cathy, we thank you. Thank you, and be blessed, okay?
Oh my God. God bless you right back. I will think about this, and we'll create something, and then we can talk a little bit more about it on Monday. All right, guys? Lots to do, but have no doubt there is so much more that is sitting here, and it's time to not leave anything on the table. It is time to get it out there and put it in the world. And this conversation, do you feel like it started to fuel some fires?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Because in 1 hour and a half, we talked about everything from creating content to courses to events to partnering with other organizations to Patreon. I mean, but there's so much here, and we need to keep talking about it, because I want to see you guys stepping out into your life. All right. Well, very proud. Now I'm very full of good feelings. Thank you for being in my world, and I love you. And I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Bye, guys.